Yeah, I'm Kelly Kuwabara, and I think I was I'm not sure actually of the years I was in Soh Daiko, but I'm going to say around like 94, 95 through 2000, maybe 2000. And I've been playing Taiko currently with Hoh Daiko in Seabrook.
I came to Soh Daiko a year before Kelly, and it was the only gig in town at the time. So if you wanted to play Taiko, you had to go out for membership and become a part of Soh Daiko. And I stayed until 2001 when I moved to the West Coast to San Diego. And there was no group that I could join in San Diego. So some Taiko transplants and I kind of got together. Then I made my way back to New Jersey very, very briefly, Northern California, and back to San Diego. And in 2004, we formed San Diego Taiko so that we could play. I would say that the group definitely made an effort to make us feel comfortable, but there were also a lot of demands. I mean, even in that first workshop, it was fun, but I'm sure everybody has had this experience. I mean, you don't leave without bloody blisters, and it was intimidated, but it was also like seeing Oz, like, oh my God, it's the Emerald City down in, the basement of a Buddhist church. So it was exhilarating. It was amazing to see the talent of, witness the talent of the people in the room and the energy and the commitment and just and camaraderie and everything. So it was something that you like, yes, I want this, and oh my God, I'm never, ever, ever going to be, they're never going to pick me.
I think I was more excited than intimidated, but I was definitely intimidated and daunted, but I was so excited. Like I was so excited. And I like Kathy's description of it being like the Emerald City in the basement of the temple, because that's how it felt. I just kind of like, I couldn't believe I was there. I couldn't believe I was going to get to try to do this.
I mean, definitely when Kelly and I started Taiko, at least for Taiko in Japan, it was very male dominated. So our biggest influence would have been Kodo. And even though it wasn't accurate, I remember the New York Times referencing Kodo as an all-male percussion group. I mean, I guess if you would call it at the time, like traditionally masculine sort of energy with drumming. I've always been drawn to that energy. It's one of the things that really drew me to Taiko. I think at the time I would have thought of it as masculine energy, and I think really because of the powerful females who play, and because in Soh Daiko it's always been at least 50%, maybe more, females. So I definitely grew up in Taiko around with a lot of females and very extraordinarily powerful female players. So I definitely, if I had that mentality going in, it's shifted, it's more of like a human power. And I think and playing Taiko, because empowered has the word power in it, like you feel like it gives you a feeling of strength. I can do anything. I don't know. I can conquer anything. So in that sense, I think playing Taiko makes you feel empowered.
In terms of like being empowered as a woman. I think it's just, in some ways, it's almost automatic, certainly for my generation, that if you engage in something that's physically powerful and visibly physically powerful, like Taiko is, it's going to make a difference to your self-perception, as a woman, because that wasn't a given, certainly when I was growing up. And I wanted to like share a little anecdote, which is that like right prior to Soh Daiko, I was involved in this, what I now call a legendary feminist martial arts dojo. I was involved in this martial arts dojo that was overtly feminist and all women, and I was in it for many years. And like there was an overlap, and I used to joke to my friends, like, now I'm in two cults, because it's like, and I didn't really have time. I had to let martial arts go, but they were both very like, these all consuming hobbies. But the first couple of years that I was in Soh Daiko, like a lot of folks from the martial arts group would come over and watch us, particularly for the Cherry Blossom Festival. And the first year, I was so excited to be in Soh Daiko. And so all of these friends from martial arts came, and afterwards, we were talking about it, and I don't remember how it came up, but basically someone from the martial arts school had thought that it was an all women's group, because that's how noticeable in power the women in the group were, that they were like, oh, I didn't notice that there were men in the group.
If females were not represented as much in Soh Daiko, I wonder whether if I would have been too intimidated, maybe, if like trying to join an all male group. So seeing what you could be in front of you, I think, is very, very powerful.
But I definitely felt, again, like both Kathy and Chuni, like, were kind of always supportive, and people I always felt able to approach, if I had any questions or, agonies, you know. And also, I feel like there was a really strong sort of peer network, with people that were either in my cohort or right above my cohort. We talked a lot, and supported each other a lot.
Teddy, for sure. She could deliver hard information, but like so cleanly that you could take it, right? You didn't go away feeling hurt. And I think Chuni definitely was, as you put it together, both an inspiration and a real mentor. Other people, and including your cohorts, Kelly, like, you had like a lot of females coming in within the same year or 2 years, which was really great. They become friends for life, like just amazing people. So definitely inspiration by the people around me. And I remember like Merle stood out as somebody who has really influenced me so much. And she sort of quietly did so many things for Soh Daiko, and the way she thought about some things has had a big effect on me and has shifted how I've thought about things. For forming San Diego Taiko, or co-forming it, and my biggest partner in doing that, he was part of Hoh Daiko New England, which was formed by a former Elaine Fong, a former member of Soh Daiko. So we had essentially the same training, and our approach to forming San Diego Taiko was very much based on Soh Daiko in terms of teaching styles, mentorship, what we taught, because especially for me, he was a drummer, so he could teach beyond what was taught to him through Hoh Daiko New England, but I really couldn't teach anything beyond exactly how I was taught in Soh Daiko. I didn't really feel comfortable doing that. So Soh Daiko had a huge really impact on forming a lot of the Taiko community in San Diego.
So I've taken on either within groups or at TCA. Soh Daiko is definitely sort of the model in a lot of ways. And for me, part of that, a big part of that is the unofficial motto used to be Taiko with heart. I don't know if that's still used, but at the time it was like Soh Daiko, Taiko with heart. And that's a big part of like what stuck what stuck with me. Um, it's like trying for that musical excellence, but not losing sight of bringing your heart into it and like sharing from a heart level. For me, that's become a totally intrinsic part of Taiko. It's almost not Taiko if that seems absent, and if that's present, even if a lot of other things are missing, for me, it seems worthwhile. Um, but sort of on the other side, on the flip side of that, I think also something that like I try to model that came from Soh Daiko is the seriousness about the both the physical training and the musicianship. And I've done other drumming in the intervening years, and besides Hoh Daiko, I've been in a couple of other taiko groups. And I guess my expectation was always, and this is because of Soh Daiko almost purely, my expectation was always that we're going to do the best we can do. We're going to work on our own because that's what you owe the group, and um, we're trying to play at the best level we can. Soh Daiko really ingrained that idea that like you're here to play at the highest level you can play at, not just sort of to, like have fun, although it is fun, but part of the fun is really working hard and working hard together as a group. Uh,
1997 Taiko Conference. This larger community from the West Coast would be seeing Soh Daiko on stage at the Taiko Conference. So there was um, a lot of pressure. So much pressure to do well. Alan, right? Like he got frustrated with us. And at one point he drew out like the audience members. And I think he even drew in like actual people who might be in the audience watching us. And he put this big, like, big piece of paper on the wall of the dojo for us to look at to remind us that that's who we were playing for. So we are working really hard, but we're not sure, we just like never felt like we were up to par, right? Compared to this legacy. And and we were all like just a couple of years in, right, to playing Taiko. So we had all these seasoned players, and then those of us who were just recently joined Soh Daiko. So it was just so intimidating. And we get to Los Angeles, we get to Taiko Conference, we have one rehearsal beforehand, and it goes so badly. It goes like, it just, everything falls apart. And I remember Sandy Ikeda just said, well, you know what happens, like if it's a bad rehearsal, it's going to be a good show. Or he makes like just kind of a very kind comment. And we end up, but we all leave like the rehearsal just, tails between our legs and just heads hanging down. And we're so worried. And we can't enjoy really the conference at all. And then we get to Taiko Jam, and we're playing in between Kenny Endo and San Francisco Taiko Dojo. So we're sandwiched, in between. Yeah, no pressure, as Kelly's saying, no pressure. And everything goes as beautifully as it could possibly go. Although I know we did rush Hachidan for sure. Like looking back, watching it, it's like, oh my God, we just were really just rushing. But the audience like just burst into applause. And it was just like this amazing moment. That was just kind of experiencing what felt, at least at the time, the low of the lows and then the high of the highs, and having all that really hard work and just months and months of drilling culminate into this amazing experience. That was a huge moment.
I think a lot about that wall of faces Alan made, because it was like, I totally remember it being, the way I recall it was like, he really had like many actual real individual people. And he was like, these are the people you're playing for. This is our community. And in some ways it was, I guess, to put the pressure on, but I also did feel like it was sort of like one of those Taiko with heart moments, because he was sort of saying, this is your family, this is your community, and this is the group of people you're coming into. And so we want to do well, like, yes, because we want to live up to this legacy, but also like sort of out of heart and out of love, because this is your group, these are your people.